ask for. There is a bit of a timer in their lineup. They wouldn't want to keep this game going for too long. Na'Vi has great scalability with the TA and the Weaver, so they've got to always be conscious about that. But if LGD can get a good start in lanes, translate that to really fast objectives, and shut down the map, there's not going to be enough space for Na'Vi to build up on their TA and their Weaver to really leverage that scaling advantage. So I think it's much easier for LGD to pull that off.
It's certainly going to be a bit of a snowball draft from LGD, it seems. Once they get started, it's going to be hard to stop them, that's for sure. Still Na'Vi. Can't be underestimated. New patch as well, so you never really know what to expect. And of course, I believe it was LGD that was one of the teams that were struggling early on. They're footing now, but still can't really underestimate any team and whatever strategies they have in store.
I think one lane to really watch out for in this draft is going to be that mid lane. It does look like Somnus is going to be paired up against that TA if they're going to stick to their roles, which honestly, I don't think it's too bad. TA doesn't have a massive amount of range early on in that laning phase. Underlord does neutralize damage coming out from Fizzle Cores quite well, and does burn through that refraction really quick, so it can deny wide area, make it hellish for the TA to try to contest those last hits. And if things just go really bad, Underlord can just jump into the jungle himself.
Fair point. We'll see how it all pans out. Game number 1 of this best of 2 between LGD and Na'Vi, and we do have a pause coming out. Looks like Nova is having some mic issues, which is fair enough. Get that sorted. You're a big fan of the Underlord, John. I'm sure it brings a tear to your eye to see this hero back in the meta, at least for now. Yeah,
I'm just glad that it does have a place now. It is much more of a stronger focus on its farming capability and the way that the jungle works. That kind of makes it great again, which is fair enough. That's really one of the big things for the Underlord anyway. I think there's a lot of value in this pick for LGD, so they should be able to get a lot of work done. Of course, that could change if Na'Vi plays a bit more aggressively or throws around the lanes, but so far it looks like they will have Somnus up against Magical.
Na'Vi look to be running a pretty disgusting duo in the Pangolier and, of course, the Doom. It'll be very hard to deal with in this off lane. LGD, of course, the Arme there on the Tiny. Going to have support there from X-Nova on the Chen. X-Nova really going to have his work cut out for him in this lane, just keeping Arme safe and protected. Of course, Magical, you talked about it already, but not going to be the easiest lane for the TA. That refraction, not going to really be paying too many dividends up against the Underlord. That, of course, Firestorm going to be very frustrating in terms of that refraction. And Chalice is already saying hello to Crystallize up at the top lane. FY will be there to join him on the Venomancer. And it looks like they have opted to not go for the level 1 Plague Ward. So they do go for the Poison Sting, which does indicate FY is intending on sticking around in this offlane, at least for now.
I think it's a fair enough point to make. You can trade up against that Weaver or even the support quite well with level 1 Poison Sting. They don't really have the best ways of maximizing that Venomous Gale. With the Abaddon, the kill potential is really not there when you go for level 1 Aphotic Shield. You really would want to stack that with the Curse instead, so just trying to secure those early last hits for FY, which is fair enough.
Somnus going for the level 1 Atrophy Aura. Pretty standard stuff. Magical has the refraction available. Once you hit that level 2 mark on the Underlord, I think it's become a lot different in this lane. And even just with the Atrophy Aura, it's just so frustrating to try and last hit up against an Underlord. Like, he could just deny and last hit perfectly thanks to that bonus damage he has. And there's really not much you can do about it.
Definitely. It's not too much minus damage just yet, of course, at level 1. But you're already seeing Somnus really leverage that advantage he has in the lane clearing capabilities he has over the TA.
I mean, an added 25 damage doesn't really hurt. especially when you're at level 2. Of course, having a look back up to that top lane, Crystallize. Not having too bad of a time so far. Still not going to be easy as FY can just walk up like this with the Aphotic Shield and ensure he can get those right clicks off without getting too much creep harassment. Once he's hit him once, that Poison Sting will just keep ticking them down slowly but surely. This Disruptor going to have his work cut out for him. Down to the bot lane, X-Nova going to find Zayak, just going ahead and pulling a creep wave for himself on the Doom. X-Nova, not really much he can do about this. He's just going to try and harass a little bit. In fact, he's going to go for the pull, but you will see Pasha come in and take that neutral cap away from the Radiant creep wave. That'll allow the Doom to get the pull off that he wanted and make life harder for Arme on that Tiny.
First blood.
So, as I say that, Chalice ends up finding the kill on the Disruptor, so First Blood will go to the way of LGD. I mean, this duo, we talked about it already, but it's going to be very, very potent in this offlane.
It definitely will be. We're seeing that effect already. There's not much the Disruptor can do. Once Chalice decides to just run up with the shield and the Curse of Avernus now up, you have the Gale up as well on FY, so the kill potential is now up and running for PSG.LGD.
Yeah, they try to dish out some harassment on FY, but the Aphotic Shield just blocks out most of that harassment.
Oh, Gale lands as well. Oh yes.
Yeah. Could be in trouble. They won't continue the chase though. FY being forced to back off. Be okay. Really only has one salve left. He's quite low on regen. And that salve, something tells me it's not going to last very long. It's FY already looking for another way to get in there and dish up more harassment. Keep our eyes up for a second as you look back to that mid lane. Magical is having a very rough time. Somnus 20 last hits, 10 denies on the Underlord, and every time Refraction comes out, Magical just loses it immediately. And he was just forced to salve up, bring out a new set of tangos. But when you're playing TA, you don't really want to have to continue buying regen over and over again while you're in the laning stage.
Definitely not. This is a rough start for Magical. He's really way behind in terms of last hits up against this Underlord. That's just going to escalate as Somnus starts to dip in and out of his jungle creeps as the game goes on. So that is something to watch out for. Magical, he's going to need his own jungle stacks up and running fairly soon.
Double damage. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Magical. Ooh. Again, look at the damage he's copying right now from Somnus. He'll throw a meld at him, but Somnus just kind of laughed at that. Just walks away. Man, this level 3 Firestorm really dealing some damage to Magical, as well as the right clicks just coming out of Somnus. Still, Magical doing a pretty darn good job of sustaining himself in this lane. Does have a double damage up now. We'll take full advantage of it.
Dire's middle tower is under
It's one of the things with this lane as well, right? Like, it's going to be a bit of a fight over these power runes. If Somnus does manage to find the power runes over and over again, it's just going to make life that much harder for this TA.
Definitely. Unfortunately, the Underlord's not the fastest hero around.
Zayak ends up going down to the bot lane. Arme does find the kill on the Tiny. A nice little tree throw will secure the kill.
bottom tower is under attack.
So that'll make it a 2-0 LGD's way about 5 minutes in. More importantly, though, a 2k net worth lead so far, which is pretty decent considering we're only 5 minutes into the game.
This is exactly what LGD wanted to do with this draft. This early advantage is something we've been talking about from that draft phase, and it's going to be rough for Na'Vi if they lose even more ground, especially once the towers start falling. They're not going to have enough room to build up on the Weaver and the TA at that point.
Crystallize helps the Poison Nova, or rather the Gale. Will be okay. He does Sakuchi out of there, but it's just so darn low. He'll bring out his bottle. He does have 7 stick charges, but it's just so uncomfortable off this top lane. Meanwhile, bot though, 9 Pasha does end up finding Arme on the Tiny, so a nice pickup for the side of Na'Vi, finding that position 1 for really no kind of commitment. Thing is though, I mean, even though the Tiny did just die, he's second in terms of last hits. He's having a great old time. I don't think that kill's going to bother Arme too much.
No, definitely not. It's gonna be rough to really slow down Ame. He's got enough levels that he can just really fly and farm anywhere. Does good enough damage to whatever stacks are up in the jungle, and the Chen is keeping that jungle pretty rotated efficiently, like getting the pulse off every single time, keeping this lane in check, making it hard for anyone else to find anything.
Yes, again, falling very, very low, but Chalice does fall low himself. He's forced to use all those one charges, and now just straight back into it. Aquatic Shield, just run into that T1 tower. He'll proc the Curse of Avernus as well. It's just impossible to contest these two. Crystallize trying to do his best to ensure the creep wave doesn't just start hitting the tier 1 tower, but he can't really do much about this. As FY now hits the Gale on Crystallize. He's trapped in the tree line, nowhere to go, and he's almost certainly going down though. Here comes Zayak to try and find a trade, and it looks like they will manage to find Chalice. Now FY now could also go down as he does cop a first hit crit from Zayak. So they do manage to punish quite well. Thing is though, that top tier 1 is very, very low in terms of HP.
It definitely is, and you force out the rotation out from that support Doom as well, which does leave Pasha alone down bot. Now, there is no kill potential right now for LGD, but that does leave him fairly vulnerable. He does have his ult to get out in case, but Ame is definitely very happy with that rotation out.
You look back into that mid lane, John, I mean, Magical, in terms of farm, has had a very rough time. 2.1k net worth, comparison to the 3.5 of Somnus. LGD have done a real great job of shutting down the cores of Na'Vi. The top lane, Chalice again going to be in trouble, should end up going down, and once again this Doom, Zayak really setting up for the team. He never really backed out of the top lane, and, well, you saw Chalice just getting a little bit overly confident. It does cost him his life for the second time.
Those are a good set of kills going the way of Na'Vi. I think it comes at the drastic cost of leaving Somnus alone and giving Ame all the space to farm as well. So you're not slowing down these two big cores. You are slowing down the Abaddon, but that's an Abaddon. He doesn't require too much farm to get online anyway.
It's very true. Ame now got a trusty shovel as well, so practically always going to have sustain in this lane, assuming he gets lucky enough to get a few salves. Still, you'd rather the bounty, of course. You look back up at that top where Zayak, he's just hanging around. He is underneath the Radiant Observer Ward though, so they know exactly where he is. Therefore, I'm going to start throwing out those Serpent Wards, or rather the Veno Wards, and Zayak gonna understand he's been scouted out. He won't be able to close the distance and go for some kind of gank attempt again onto Chalice. Looks like he will just secure some farm in the jungle for now.
That's one of the positives with the support Doom, of course. You can just dip in there. If you can't get anything done in lane, just farm up for yourself. That does give Zayak his level 6. So the kill potential for Na'Vi has just shot up.
Tower is under attack.
You want to get that Doom on cooldown as soon as possible as well. You don't really want to have it just sitting there available to use. Imagine Na'Vi either will smoke up and try to go for a quick kill, or just rotate down and try to close the gap without being scouted out. But no, there is the smoke coming out from Ilias, so they are going down towards that bot lane where they want to try and find Ame on the Tiny. They could also loop around to the mid lane, but that's just X Nova on Chen. He's not too big of a deal. Much rather that Tiny. They'll leave the bounty rune alone. Ame seems to understand something is wrong though. Scout him out with that Observer Ward being placed. Ilias gets started with the Thunder Strike, and now the Doom comes out, but he got the Avalanche off in time. Still though, the Glimpse back. Now Chalice will come in to try and help out with the Aquatic Shield, and Zayak copying a lot of damage. They did not find Ame on the Tiny, and he's just running his way up, but Pasha does at least find one roll, finds a secondary, and does manage to find the kill. Ilias now should go down as a trade, but Na'Vi's certainly going to be pretty satisfied with finding that position 1 Tiny once again.
Definitely, that's one of the bigger kills they could hope for. Just slowing down Ame's progression is going to help massively. They also relieve some pressure in the other lanes, so they've got some space to try to get some more going onto Crystallize, onto Magical with that space spot. In fact, that's a lot of stacks for Magical to clear out, so if LGD doesn't spot this one out, it is going to give Magical a shot in the arm here.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Looks like he certainly is going to manage to clear them out. Nobody going to be around. Instead, LGD are forcing in that mid-tier 1 tower now. Fortification will come out, but LGD, they do not budge. It's going to be a very easy tower for them. They could probably keep going. In fact, someone's saying, yeah, let's go right now. What are you going to do to stop them? I mean, you got 1 kill in the tiny, sure, but...
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Fortify, still not going to be enough. Somnus, he'll just move back in now as the Underlord.
Has been killed. Dire's
And Na'Vi don't really have an answer for this push. They go ahead and push the side lanes, but they don't push anywhere near as fast. So Pasha, he may be able to find that bot tier 1 tower, but you've just lost both your mid towers just in the span of 30 seconds.
That puts Na'Vi at a really risky spot. Their jungle's not going to be as safe as you'd expect. That will allow LGD to zip in and out if they get the vision down and start to lock down the farm from Na'Vi.
Looks like Na'Vi just kind of set on farming up right now. Magical, he's still somewhat behind. I say that, he's caught up quite quickly on the TA, but he's not really at that point yet where he feels comfortable to really start engaging on the side of LGD. Of course, FY understanding the TA's been missing for a while, wants to keep tabs, so he starts throwing out the plague wards once again. They did barely scout out the TA, but it looks like top lane, Ame, gonna be caught out of position once again. He does end up going down.
That's a big kill once more for Na'Vi, just finding the right targets every single time. Does allow them to take control of an outpost as well. So just a bit of a trade there, but overall you're going to be happy with this as Na'Vi. Sure, you're behind a bit in terms of net worth, but you're not losing as much ground as you'd expect. The mid lane is definitely cleared out, but LGD's in no position to really maximize that as well. So as long as you hold this game out long enough, you're going to see certain key heroes start to come online. Like you take a look at Magical, he pretty much has his Desolator up. So he's going to be clearing out these camps much faster, and once the blink's up, he's going to be comfy joining these fights.
Well, he's going to need to probably be pretty quick with it because they're losing another tier 1 tower. LGD, do you back off now? Somnus says absolutely not, we're moving forward. In fact, never mind, he does end up backing off in the end. But while that's happening, a Roshan's going on. Na'Vi, with that new Desolator on Magical, can take a very quick Roshan. That's exactly what they do. Still TPs are coming in from LGD to try and counter this. Can they get in range though? Ame, he's so close yet so far though. Magical hasn't picked it up yet, but he does get the Aegis. Still Ame runs in, he does not care. Gets a toss on. Rolling Thunder will be there from Pasha though, and they're just controlling up this Chen. Don't let him get that heal off, and he does go down. Now the poison over from FY. Does it do enough? They'll get the Aegis on Magical. Can they kill him a second time though? Ilias gets a glimpse off on the Tiny, but Magical's struggling. He goes to the TP play, but it will not be good enough. Does go down in the end. So although they had the Aegis, Na'Vi just couldn't really win the team fight regardless. They found a Chen for their trouble, but they've lost the TA twice now. It's going to be a 5-7 still Na'Vi's way. But
I think overall, Na'Vi should still be happy with that one. They are forcing LGD back away from the objectives. They aren't taking these objectives themselves as well. And after that tier 2 and that tier 1, not much has happened at all. So as long as Na'Vi can hold on to their jungle, at the very least one of the jungles, then they will have enough space to farm up here. Like, we haven't seen the blink come out yet. Of course, it's still a bit away from Magical. And Crystallize has a lot more farm to go through, but if they delay this game by about 15 minutes, I think LGD will lose a lot of that momentum they set themselves up with. They've got to clear these towers much faster.
Certainly starts to feel that way. I mean, we're 15.5 minutes in, and although they've taken a lot, it just doesn't feel like it's enough yet. They are setting up for that top tier 2 though. They agree with you, John. LGD, still no fear from them as they have the escape mechanism of Somnus in the Dark Rift, if need be anyway. Pasha will show himself, Pit of Malice will root him for a second. They won't be able to catch him out. Nevertheless, nothing's stopping this tier 2 from going down for LGD. They'll happily take it away from Na'Vi. Looks like Na'Vi are starting to push the bot lane down, but no, they're retreating as well, and LGD doesn't look like they're going to retreat. They're just going full into the tier 3 tower. Can Na'Vi stop them? I mean, this is so early on, but it just seemed like there's way too much sustain on LGD to actually stop this push from happening.
Yeah, I mean, they're slowly losing in tier 3.
Pasha getting a lot of health taken away from him. Still, fortification will scare them off for a bit. You've still got the Hand of God and Mech available on X-Nova.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And there's the tier 3 gone. They're just going for Rax now. Why the hell not? Punch jumps in with the swashbuckle. Now the static field and kinetic field and static storm. Rolling Thunder will come through. They've got the Doom off onto the Underlord, so he can't really Dark Rift away. He's copying a fair bit of damage, and they do manage to take him out, but now Poison Nova. FY will commit it. The buyback is there from Somnus. Somnus actually... Where is Somnus?
He's there.
Right. Well, that's the top rack's gone. Magical is taking down the tier 2 mid tower though. So they do find something, but it's definitely not what they would like.
No, definitely not. Like, I get why Magical did stay back there. I guess he understood that the team fight would be really hard with all the regen and durability on LGD's side. They did have to sacrifice their entire top racks, and you know, it's not going to be too hard for LGD to repeat that on the mid racks as well, and the bot racks once that tier 2 is gone. So LGD, they understand their game plan here. As long as they keep applying this pressure on the map, I don't see Na'Vi finding enough space to farm up. Granted, Crystallize, now he does have his Diffusal Blade up, so he can do a bit more damage, at the very least.
Top lane, FY, gonna get scouted out, but it won't be too late. He was already just on the edge of TPing. LGD, at the very least X-Nova, smokes himself up. He will buy another one though. LGD, I kind of wonder when they go for another big push, and I mean the answer could be right now, as they are slowly setting up for that bot lane. There is still a TP tower standing.
Oh boy.
Well, they go after Pasha, though they don't get the root off with the Pit of Malice. The rest of LGD move their way in bot. They want to try and force this outer tower down, and perhaps go for a secondary tier 3 tower. Meanwhile, Na'Vi just holding on to dear life. I say that, but you look at the TA, she's currently top of the net worth board, so I can't really say they are holding on. In fact, you could argue they're kind of ahead if you ignore the top racks.
They certainly are in terms of net worth. It's a 2k advantage for Na'Vi, so they definitely are finding the farm. They need to translate that to something.
Hit a Malice, and the Rod of Atos is there. How do you get yourself out of this one? You probably can't. Stun Woe there from X-Nova, though no, the Swashbuckle will be enough. They didn't have any follow-up armor. He was running his way in, but couldn't quite get there in time. And so Na'Vi will continue to just push out that top tier 1 tower, just try and drag back the side of LGD. In fact, Chalice almost goes down, but there's the Dark Rift coming up from the Underlord. And now suddenly the rest of LGD are here and ready to take a team fight. They're gonna make a chase. Crystallize, where are you going, sir? Trying to go after the backlines. Nobody on the side of Na'Vi does get caught out. They're all pretty much out of there. Somnus, Rod of Atos, he will at least find the Disruptor. They're still gonna be there. Elias still managed to run away though. They can't hold him down long enough.
It's the one great weakness of LGD's draft. They don't have the best lockdown, and Force Staffs really just ruin the combination that the Underlord has, so they're not managing to keep these heroes in place, which is causing issues. If Na'Vi can just keep slipping by like this, LGD is going to be wasting a lot of time, and that does buy a lot of space for Magical.
Well, FY almost getting caught out by Crystallize. He'll just Glimmer Cape his way away. Now Arme gonna find Crystallize, though doesn't really get the avalanche off in time. So Na'Vi have successfully slowed this game down. Of course, that does work out in their favor. LGD almost certainly will drop off late game. You've still got the Tiny there being played by Arme. They could, that could pull them through the late game, but you certainly don't want to have to play up against the late game Weaver and TA at the same time.
Nah,
even Doom for that matter.
Definitely. You start to lose the power of that Venomancer. You start to lose the utility on the Chen as time goes on. And that just means you've got two heroes that aren't going to be contributing as much as you'd expect as the game ticks on. Na'Vi, they're starting to look a bit scary here. Like Zayak, he's got his blink, he's had it for a while, so he can definitely just take one key hero in the backlines out, and suddenly LGD is stuck in a position where they're playing a 4v5.
Still Na'Vi, they'll just bide their time.
That's how it's done.
We'll have a quick look at that win probability, and it is still the way of LGD, 61%, but it's not really too big of a lead. Definitely one Rax advantage really isn't that much considering this draft. Now you have the blink up on the TA as well, so suddenly Magical is a lot more mobile and he can definitely get involved in these team fights now. BKB up as well, so I imagine Na'Vi will be willing to take a team fight once this blink dagger does come out on the TA. Even the mech now coming out on Pasha. Bot lane, looks like they do end up finding out Chalice. Borrow time is going to be available, but it looks like they are going to surround him anyway. Kinetic Field will come out, and Chalice, understanding he cannot survive this, will just end up standing there and taking the death. The rest of LGD not rotating over to try and help out. They just stick around in the mid lane. In fact, they may go for a Roshan, which is available right now. But no, they won't make their way there. They'll just hold out for now. In fact, they're kind of getting prepared for Na'Vi to try to go for that Roche attempt. Na'Vi with that smoke. Love a pick-off to get this Roshan started, but nobody really is hanging around from the side of LGD. So it looks like rather than doing all that, they'll just go ahead and start pushing up that top lane again.
It's fair enough. They do clear out the traps in the Roche pit once more for LGD. So Na'Vi losing out in that touch of vision there, and that might be the signal for LGD to go for it themselves.
We're gonna try. They'll send Somnus in. He gets bashed immediately though. Of course, Pasha keeping vision. They're fine. Just gonna slowly take the Roshan with the Veno wards. Why the hell not? Gonna take FY a long time if you really intend to try it. Well, Magical down to the bot lane has eyes on Arme. Chalice, he's gonna heal himself, Magical. Gonna start moving forward with that double damage. Borrow time is available though on Chalice, so he doesn't really have too much risk of dying here, and he will survive. Meanwhile, top lane, however, Rolling Thunder is there. X-Nova getting controlled up. Arme will move in, but misses the avalanche on every single person. Pasha will just roll his way out of there.
Nice clean pick-off for Na'Vi. They are forcing LGD to stick together, but LGD's just not find anything with this time they're committing to trying to stick as 5. It's just not giving them anything so far. It just gives Na'Vi more time to farm.
Crystallize gonna have a go at Arme, but realizes that is not a safe target to go after. Magical. Still just split pushing the bot lane as the TA, of course. With the Deso, it's just so darn fast to push these towers down by yourself. Just force a rotation in from the side of LGD, or at least Somnus on that Underlord. Still, Somnus could be in trouble as Crystallize now makes his way down as well. They have a third, and there's Zayak getting the Doom off straight away. Melt Strike as well, and Somnus, he just melts. He really is not as tanky as he thought he would be once that TA gets in there. But then again, there's a Roshan being taken. LGD, they'll happily give Somnus's life away for the ages, it seems, and Arme will go ahead and pick it up.
yeah, I mean, they managed to clear out that tier 2 down bot, but you kind of lose out a bit there with that Roche. That does give LGD a lot more to play with. 2 lives on the Tiny now. Ame should be able to get the job done right in the middle of it. He finishes his AC up as well. It's going to be much more durable to the physical damage coming out from Na'Vi.
BKB now coming out onto Crystallize. Thing with this Weaver though, it just feels like the Weaver just lacks damage. I mean, you have the defusal there, but it's not really doing much. I mean, we saw Crystallize going after Ame before and it just did nothing. We'll see what he does opt for next. Zayak will make his way down to the bot lane. Looks like he's just going to try and split push, or just split the wave and leave. Yeah, that's exactly what he does, and nobody from LGD is really close enough to go for this kill. They should just be able to TP out if he really wants to, but it looks like he'll just walk out safely. As Na'Vi also take the top tier 1 tower while all that was happening, and LGD, they just appear to have lost steam in this game. It just seems like they don't know where to go from here.
It does feel that way. You'd expect a bit more of an advantage with 1 Rax being taken so early on. Na'Vi has not shown any weakness at all, and LGD, their objectives have slowed down.
FY just gets melted. Magical has a Daedalus up, so 900 damage crits coming out on FY. Chalice. They scout out the TA thanks to that courier. They get the Rod of Atos out. The Magical will just blink out of there. Now Rolling Thunder from Pasha straight onto X-Nova once again. X-Nova, do you even get the Hand of God out in time? You absolutely do not. Chalice still trying to fight, but he doesn't really deal much damage as the Abaddon. Now, who do they go for after this? They go for the Doom straight onto the Underlord, though. Static Storm and Kinetic Field onto that Underlord. Somnus just comping everything. Chalice now doesn't want to borrow this any longer, but Magical jumps straight on top of him. Still, borrow time will be there, but go for Ame instead. And with that, it looks like Chalice will eventually go down. And well, I can probably say the same for Ame in just a second as they are continuing this chase. Slows are there. Chalice gets glimpsed back while trying to TP. Does go down in the end, and Ame as well will lose his Aegis. There's no help coming for this Tiny. He's just a sitting duck. He'll try to make a run. It'll be to no avail though, as Na'Vi looking so darn good in that team fight. In LGD, again, they just don't seem to know what the answer to this problem is.
It looked pretty rough for Na'Vi at the start. Magical was trying to get the damage onto the Tiny, but looked like he was just tickling the Tiny so far. In the end, they do manage to clean up, and it's costing LGD a lot. Like, again, they haven't leveraged that early game advantage they had. They've given Na'Vi enough time and space to really start to build up. Magical is looking way too big to deal with right now. The backline is really not safe. And they've gotten massive 9k lead, 5-16 at 30 minutes in. Na'Vi is pretty much set to bounce back in. This is the moment when their heroes start to really build up and when LGD starts to taper off a bit.
Radiant are scanning.
Na'Vi as well taking control of both outposts. Looks like LGD will try and take the northwest outpost once again, but Na'Vi, or Pasha rather, is TPing in. So this could be pretty dangerous for him, but he seems pretty confident. Zayak is around as well. They'll get the outpost before that 30-minute mark, and now Pasha could be in trouble. He'll Rolling Thunder, and it looks like he'll be fine. He just wanted to try and deny that XP away from the side of LGD.
A golden.
We'll get a banner in on his way out. The longer this game goes on, though, the more it just favors Na'Vi. Again, the one saving grace is Ame on the Tiny. Though this Daedalus timing isn't going to be the most amazing. Swap bot. Somnus being chased down by Crystallize, but Crystallize, again, doesn't really have the damage output on the Weaver, so he's got to just get out of there. Maybe wait for another teammate to come down, but now LGD are starting to surround. It looks like this Weaver should be perfectly fine.
Yeah, can be a hard hard task to take him out. Again, you do kind of lack stuns anyway, so I can see a lot of situations where Crystallize just walks away with his BKB.
LGD just, again, biding their time. 31 minutes in. Looks like they may go for a smoke. They do group up, but no, they'll just stick together. Arme has switched over. He doesn't want the Daedalus any longer, but rather he's going to go for a BKB instead. I mean, it solves the all the disables that are coming out towards him. The only thing is, though, the TA doesn't really care for it. And as well as that, I mean, if you get the jump there from Zayak, that BKB is just going to be completely useless.
Yeah, LGD is just stuck in a really rough spot where they can't quite take these fights. They can't quite take the objectives anymore. And they're really just trying to play a farm game, trying to get Ame as big as possible. The issue is he's not farming as fast as this TA, and that's really down to the fact that Tiny's nowadays don't go for the blink. They don't tend to jump around the map as fast. So TA is just going to out-farm you every single time. Magical is very close to finishing up the Butterfly as well. And once that's up, the damage just really shoots up. They've got the 25 talent, the Meld Dash is up, and that's going to be really hard to play against.
And they found Chalice. And he does have borrowed time available, but Zayak, do you continue chasing? It looks like he does not, as LGD are starting to rotate. They want to take any team fight they can take. If they have the advantage, of course, and there's a lot of Atos flying out, but the Guardian Greaves does purge it off. And FY now could be in trouble on the Veno. Glimmer caved up, trying to run away. He does still have his 4-star, but there's the kinetic kill static stops. No, they get the bash shot with the Meld Strike, though. He does go down. Now Somnus being chased down. They got the Doom off from Zayak. Arme trying his best to help, but everyone's BKB'd up on the side of Na'Vi. They'll find another. The Crystallize falling low, but he gets a time lapse off, and now Pasha. Rolling Thunder will be there, and they just want Arme. Still, though, buyback will come out from Somnus. But look at this Rolling Thunder from Pasha, just going through all of them. Controlling up the back lines. They have bound the Doom. Now the Avalanche toss from Arme should find one, and they do get Zayak down. Na'Vi, though, smoke up and just immediately run away. It's pretty good thing they did as well, as Arme had a BKB flying out on the courier. Arme just having a quick look, seeing if the Roshan's available for his team. Unfortunately for him, it is still 2.5 minutes away. So LGD will still not really have the opening they were asking for. In fact, they might be in trouble. Crystallize looking for a target. Won't quite find one, but now they do find one in the form of FY. Still, he gets on top of the cliff and will survive. Na'Vi feeling confident. Just juking around the side of LGD, trying to find any pickoff they can get. And it looks like now they will confidently back off.
And LGD is just being pulled around here by Na'Vi so far. And you take a look at what Navi's trying to build up in Magical. He's working on a Divine. At the very least, he's queued that up. Whether or not he'll finish it is a different question. But if he does go for that Divine, well, nothing's going to be living for LGD.
Certainly feels that way. I don't really see him going all the way with it, but I can't say I would mind. It'd be pretty darn fun to watch. That Daedalus is always a good bit of fun. Would be a nice way to take out Arme as well in these team fights, because again, he is the main source of problems for the side of Na'Vi. We'll see if he sticks with it though. He's getting pretty close to picking up that Sacred Relic if he does want. Na'Vi, meanwhile, grouping up as 4 in the mid lane. Are we going to see another smoke popping out? Looks like we are. Magical will join. They are pinging out the Roshan. He is still unavailable though, still 30 seconds away. But they found Arme, they will get the glimpse off. BKB has been forced out of the Tiny. And that was his 10-second charge that he had to expend. And now the Doom, they jump straight in Zayak onto the Underlord. They want Somnus dead. Arme gonna try and man fight this, but he's gonna lose his Underlord pretty darn fast, and does. Now the BKB waves up, and Arme suddenly not really as tanky. FY gets the Poison Over off at the very least, and now Na'Vi, they don't want to borrow this any longer it seems, as they will go after Zayak. Zayak will end up falling. Pasha though, still going now. They plan to try and turn this around. It's a 4v2 situation anyway for the side of Na'Vi, so there's nothing to really be afraid about. Chalice, while he has borrowed time available, does he actually get away? Well, Arme is actually still in the back, taking down Ilias on that Disruptor, but now he will end up dying, surely.
Is he?
As Chalice gets the Aphotic Shield off, Crystallize still going to chase him down. In fact, he does manage to run away, but it will cost Abaddon's life in the process.
And that's a lot of heroes just gone from LGD. The bright side is Ame is not melting, and that's due to the fact that he has an insane amount of armor. All that physical damage isn't coming out as fast as you'd expect. I reckon Magical might actually finish this Divine Rapier.
Oh, Ame. Jump in, Chalice ball back as well. They really don't want to get this Roshan away right now to Na'Vi. Crystallize force the BKB and get the hell out. Magical falling quite low as well, but Pasha is keeping every single person at bay. And now with Arme's BKB down again, they may feel confident enough to go back in. Roshan is low, but Pasha hasn't backed up. He's going to go for the still. It's a bit too early. Pasha, Avalanche will be there. The Roshan still falling, and Arme does pick up the Aegis. And with that, Pasha should just die. He has no mana left. They will actually not find him. Glimmer Cape is apparently very imbalanced this patch, John, because nobody has detection.
That has been the story of the past few games we watched. Just a lot of escapes by Invis. And Pasha, that was a good attempt, just a bit too early to rip that Aegis off. So LGD gonna be very happy with that pickup, of course. In the end, that should give him a tool of fighting back. They are still up against the ropes. 8-22, 12k network lead for Na'Vi. And slowly but surely, the damage is going to be flying out soon to deal with that Tiny, who is really too hard to burn down with their physical cores. Everyone else is a non-issue for the most part, but this Tiny just stays alive for way too long. Ame is probably the one factor that's keeping LGD in check here.
Bot lane Arme. He has help behind him,
oh,
jumping so darn quick. Half his HP gone, but he will turn around with that BKB. And again, the Glimmer Cape just saving Magical for now, though he runs back into them, but they go after X-Nova. Ghost Scepter will not save him. He just gets destroyed by Magical. And now the Abaddon falling low. Chalice still surviving for now, but the borrowed time does come out as well. Arme, what do you do here as the Tiny? Kinetic Field is there, they've trapped him up. They'll go after Chalice first on the Abaddon, and with that, Arme is just sitting duck. No help around him, he is going to go down. That was the Aegis at least. Still no help around him though, he's definitely going to go down here. He'll try to go for a bit of a fight, but they're just way too tanky on the side of Na'Vi. And that could be GG, I mean, they're going to at least find one Rax out of this.
Is under attack.
There's no real buybacks available on LGD right now.
No. It's going to be rough. They won't have their two big cores up for this defense, and the tier 4 for Na'Vi is being chipped away by the creeps, but I don't think it's going to go fast enough.
That's why Poison Nova expended, but it will not help that much, as he does go down. You do just have his buyback available, and he will use it immediately. Na'Vi, though, definitely not backing off this Rax. They're going for more X-Nova. He was there for a second, but he just seems to have disappeared. It's Magical, we'll take care of him. Now, the mid-tier 3. Why the hell not? They won't have the option to go after the top Rax, as there is still a tier 2 tower outstanding, so why not just go after the tier 4s instead? And they take them pretty darn quick. LGD, how do you defend this? You're still missing 3 heroes. Trying to buy time for Arme to be back up on that Tiny. They are going to lose both tier 4s as well as 2 Raxes, and that's going to be it for Na'Vi. They won't stick around to finish off the Ancient quite yet.
they're in a bit of an awkward spot. They've left their tier 4s alone, although they TP back at last. They did lose a tier 4, so there is an opportunity for LGD to maybe try something sneaky as the game goes on. It is a bit of a Hail Mary kind of play, though.
What other option do you have? I mean, it just seems like there's no answer to what Navi's throwing at them.
Precious bounty.
The Hail Mary does sound like the way to go. Did they buy that Divine Rapier, by the way?
No, Magical went for a Moon Shard, which is fair enough, right? Like, he doesn't really need the damage. It is disappointing. It definitely is. He's gonna go for the Nullifier next, which is the smart move. Not quite exciting.
Smoke though. LGD, if they find Magic would be amazing, but he just blinks out just in the nick of time.
Has been killed.
LGD, what do you do now? They didn't find the pickoff they wanted. They won't be able to stick around this mid lane too long either. That bot wave is pushing in quite fast.
None will escape my darkness.
I mean, we're at 42 minutes in. It's 8-28, a 31k advantage for Na'Vi. It's just really hard for LGD to squeeze back in. They've got a massive gold disadvantage and a hell lot lost in map control. So they've got to find a fight that they can take, isolate a couple of heroes maybe, and take control that way. It's just Na'Vi's not giving them that space.
I thought Ilias wasted a BKB charge. It was just the Minotaur Horn. Now, it's Timeless Relic. GD, gonna smoke up once again. Na'Vi gonna make their presence known up at that top lane by taking that outpost away from LGD. Magical does get spotted out for a second. This does seem like bait from Na'Vi, but Arme trying to go into the back lines, but smoke on smoke action. They both break. Davis is there from Arme. They jump straight onto, well, that Pasha. He is gone before the rolling thunder. The Magical down X-Nova straight off the bat. The buyback is there from the Chen. LGD, do they keep going? Pasha also brought back and is back up at the top lane. Magical, going after X-Nova. Rolling Thunder will be there, connecting on pretty much everyone in LGD. And White commits the Poison Nova as well. Crystallize just going after X-Nova on that trend, trying to find that dieback, and now Magical comes in. He cleans him up. Arme going to be very careful about how much damage he cops. That meld will not find the
Arme!
He's stuck behind Arme.
They got the glimpse.
Somnus now, trying to find something out of nothing. I think this game's just gone though. As LGD are falling one by one. Chalice is the only one left. Na'Vi just giving it to him.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
The hold out, there's the Divine coming out on Magical. So
here we go.
and there's the GG. Chalice will have none of it, John. We will not see the Divine crit.
Man.
Radiant's ancient
Still, Na'Vi 9-34 up against LGD. 35k network lead. Look, they lost a lot of ground early on. LGD could not leverage that. And all Na'Vi had to do was hold out. Magical grew big enough, Crystallize grew big enough. They started